3-2 for Boca. An amazing, to me, one of the better Superclásico, if not the best Superclásico that I've seen in the past few years. One of those that the emotion stirred all types of memories, very 90s-esque, because first and foremost, the man of the match, the fans. I mentioned it during the broadcast that the fans really give the pageantry to the game. And this was not the exception. This was actually the standard in which it's funny because I had many people giving me messages that were watching El Clásico, and of course it's going on basically at the same time. And I said, you know what, give me a Super Clásico over a Spanish Clásico any day of the week. Yeah, the Bernabeu is imposing and monumental and has this energy, but it doesn't duplicate what South American football is. Nothing really does. This match meant more than just a Superclásico and bragging rights. Obviously, the most important facet of it all is that the winner ends up advancing. They'll come back to the same Mario Kempes next weekend to face Estudiantes. And it ends up being a very impressive coaching job by Diego Martinez. And you say, what? Over Martín Demichelis. At first, it didn't seem that way. But coaching isn't just what you put out on the field when the starting, it's not just filling out the starting 11 and here you go. It's what you do with that starting 11 and what happens with that starting 11 and how you move those pieces on the pitch and how things do work out. Aliendro and Villagra in the middle. With Diego Martinez, what he tries to do is to advance Paul Fernandez a bit more. And which is fine. But then he ends up switching Kevin Senon towards the middle, and Boca didn't have a lot of maneuverability of the ball early on. Yes, they pushed the ball, they sent the ball forward, but there was a lot that I was mentioning, especially during the broadcast, that there were moments where Boca were transporting the ball too much in the middle sector of the pitch and lost the ball. River started a counterattack, and that ends up being one of the first goals. Kevin Senon in the middle, basically playing as a 10, trying to get past two defenders, loses the ball. It was Villagra, then Nacho Fernandez sending it to Echeverri. Echeverri has about 25 yards to scamper and finds Miguel Angel Borja on a 3v2 open 1-0 River. That was interesting what Demichelis did, because all he did was move Villagra and Aliendro together to be able to kind of cancel out Zenon, kind of cancel out Paul Fernandez. And every time those balls were being won by River, those 50-50 balls, those divided balls, those second balls, everything was being won by River in the first, 15, 20, 25 minutes. But then Boca kind of made an adjustment. Zenon doesn't play anymore in the middle. He plays out wide. Initially, it was kind of negating what needed to be done early on, which was to help that one of the better associations on the pitch blossom. And which one was it? Senon with Lautaro Blanco. And you didn't have a lot of that down that sector. So Senon moves out wide, starts connecting with Blanco. Blanco brings the ball in. And for a second, it seemed like it was going to be 1-1, but it goes over the head of Cavani, gets a little bit past Saralegui. But Boca started to find some maneuverability down the left side, their best side. Boca begins to add some presence. Boca begins to move the ball with more consistency. Now, were they getting towards Armani's goal? Not as much, but there were moments where Cavani was becoming ever present. There were moments where Merentiel was trying to show himself up. But then something happens towards the end of the first half, and it exposes one thing. I'm talking about within Argentine league context, okay? Lautaro Blanco, Miguel, Luis Advíncula, and I could even add when he's healthy, or when he was healthy, Lucas Blondel. They have the best fullbacks in Argentine football in actuality. Not only can they defend better, I'm not saying they're shutdown defenders, but they defend better, they have more balance going forward and backward than most. They create so much for Boca. They're one of the more integral pieces in their overall attack, because they don't play with a number 10 per se. They don't have that player in the middle that creates that's the composer that kind of directs in the ball, moves the ball, sprays it around, distributes it. They don't have that. They have the fullbacks that go wide and can send good crosses. That was a great example. I mentioned it during the first half that Javi Saralegui needed to be subbed off. Immediately he associates with Advíncula, and just that little motion, that little run that he makes towards Advíncula ends up attracting Enzo Diaz. And when Enzo Diaz comes in, he sends the ball back out wide. Advíncula just continues darting past him. He ends up sending a great cross that Merentiel is able to lock into and make it 1-1. That was completely deflating for River. You saw how they just completely diminished in terms of play. And River lost that intensity. Keep in mind, if there were many criticisms, and there are going to be many criticisms of Martín Demichelis, because there should be. One of those is putting Nacho Fernandez on the pitch. Nacho going up against Lautaro Blanco and helping out the defense. Nacho Fernandez can go forward, but Nacho Fernandez can't go forward as much as he used to, and he definitely never defended. So it left Marcelo Herrera all on an island by himself in case there was a 2v1, which it did happen a couple of times. River lost that maneuverability in certain moments of the match. And, of course, that ends up lending itself to what? One of the more controversial moments in the second half, when a ball just bounces around to and fro. The eventual carom off of Lema bounces towards goal. Chiquito Romero is able to get that ball and save it just in time. Of course, I'm talking now in hindsight. But at the moment, well, it ends up being validated as a goal. 2-1 River. And you say, oh, here you go again. Here Boca goes again. The troubles that Boca have trying to assert their superiority, which they were playing better in that moment of the game. River just came a couple of times, created that, and that was it. 2-1. How did this happen? Well, VAR are able to, I don't know if rectify. You can say, no, it was a goal, or no, it wasn't a goal. That's a different conversation. But River end up getting that goal disallowed, and it was kind of a wake-up call for Boca, and immediately they picked it up a notch. No, only a couple of minutes later, River have all sorts of problems coming out of the back. All these problems that they were able to end up having. It's a team that couldn't play out of the back with a lot of fluidity in that portion of the match. Marcelo Herrera sends that ball right to Kevin Senon, who brilliantly sends the ball back into to Edinson Cavani, 2-1, and it's now the theme of redemption that we have to delve into, because Cavani, Merentiel, two players that came last year, two players that struggled against River last year, that continued struggling in the previous Superclásico, but were more workmen than goal scorers. They end up reivindicating themselves in this encounter. So what ends up happening in all of this just kind of starts to change the tone for a Boca that for them, it's more than just, like I said, bragging rights. It's to reassert themselves, saying we are competitive once again. And Juan Román Riquelme said it at the end of the match, saying, hey, by the way, for years we've been knocked on, saying that we're the worst team ever, we're one of the worst champions ever, despite winning titles, despite winning games, despite getting to finals. And the phrase that, of course, that comes to mind is, well, if we're the worst, if we're terrible, then we're the least worst team in Argentine football. This was after winning the league title back in 2022. For Boca, it's a sensation of, okay, we got this. And they were just completely in control of the match. There were times that maybe they teetered, which they tend to do. They dropped back and started defending. But again, Boca gave River a taste of their own medicine, if you want to call it that, because in finding the ball, in creating and in going in transition, they were able to find spaces, because at that point, River just brought in Simon, brought in Barco, brought in a lot of players going forward, leaving a lot of space going backward. And Boca takes advantage of it. The counterattack that ensues, Cavani down the right side tries to chip it over Armani. It goes off Armani, and Merentiel there to sweep it in, make it 3-1 at that point. Basically sealing the deal, or at least we thought they were sealing the deal. In hindsight, they did. But Boca seemed more impassioned to try and get something, because for them, this match meant more. And I said, it's not only bragging rights. It's not only going to the semifinals. It's saying, hey, River's not going to manhandle us. We are here, and we have a different mindset. We play better. We play in a much more improved fashion. If you look at the previous ones under Almeida, even the first half in the previous Superclásico with Diego Martinez wasn't impressive. And of course, if you go back to Almiron, yeah, you can say that it was trash. But when it comes to Boca and what they were able to do, they really closed a lot of angles down. But then River also lost that impetus going forward. It was just sending balls in. There was a couple of crosses sent by Enzo Diaz. Excuse me, no. Hey, take that back. Not Enzo Diaz, but Marcelo Herrera, Lanzini, and there was one more that slips my mind. I'm talking about down the right-hand side that ends up sending a cross, but it just goes into the stands. So that was the mindset that River had at that moment. And in a lot of occasions, for them to turn things around after not having a great start to the second half or finding themselves down, they throw everything out there, doing their best, trying them whatever they can with whatever individualities do come up, and it doesn't end up coming through. There were a lot of moments that there were individual plays. Echeverri, when he had moments of individual brilliance, and of course the goal is one of them, he was good, but there's still, look, he's 18. I can't criticize him too much, but at times he does get intermittent in games. And when he gets intermittent, the protagonism that River have offensively diminishes significantly. Does he ask for the ball? Yes, he does. Now, at times he gets it and at times he makes mistakes. And it's something that 18-year-olds are going to do. It's normal. It's part of the process. If you put an 18-year-old to start, he's going to do some brilliant things. He's going to do some not so brilliant things. So let's get away from I don't want to get it too much into the criticism of Claudio Echeverri because he had some good moments in this match. The problem is that they were very few and far between. The more the blame would lie on Demichelis, how he handled this match, how the players that he was looking to bring forth, the adjustments or lack thereof that he had as soon as Boca made their changes, and it gave Boca the midfield yet again. Eki Fernandez played a sensational match. And when Boca had control of the game, for the first time in a long time, you saw that Boca wasn't going to relinquish whatever advantage they were given, and they didn't for the most part. Yeah, okay, Paulo Diaz scores in the 97th minute, but at that point, the game was basically academic. The game was already basically decided because we knew if River scored, they needed to get another one just to send it to penalties, and there was about 20 seconds left. And 20 seconds were exactly played in those final moments. So, again, a big win for Boca, a huge win for Boca, a huge moment for Boca, that they're going to, again, with teams like this, even if River won it, the same thing would be said in terms of what they have to do next, which is consolidate upon that victory. And they'll have to do it against Estudiantes at the Mario Kempes next week. And for them, it's just, like I said, more than a victory. For River, it's more than a loss because it ends up being the beginning of speculation and the moment, one of the few moments where River fans saying, what if Marcelo Gallardo was still around? Because you didn't find that leadership in Demichelis. He didn't offer that sense of security. Gentlemen, it's okay. We're down 3-1. We got this. We're good. We're still in it. You never had that sense that Demichelis was offering that type of security to his team. And that's where this River side ends up lacking with Martín Demichelis compared to Marcelo Gallardo. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you know what to do. The same as usual. I hope that you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy all that's coming because I really want to work on this and make this something for you to truly and duly enjoy. I had to find a word that rhymed. It's something you truly had to enjoy and gives you a lot of information about what's going on this side of the world. I'll have more maybe on El Clásico, on some other matches going on worldwide, and of course Copa America coming up. So make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're doing everything you need to do in order to stay abreast of what's going on in the world of football, have some interviews, have some games, have some match commentary that I want to get into in terms of online, and hopefully it ends up growing into something important for everyone to be able to consume, to share, and of course, why not, to kind of talk a little bit, maybe have some banter here and there. And banter is not a bad thing. And it was shown today at the Mario Kempes between the fans of Boca and River. And I hope, like I said, I hope that eventually the leadership in Argentine football realize that the away fans need to return. There needs to be banter. There needs to be some great culture. I'm talking about the great part, the what people tune in to watch that type of football really want to look at is the fans going after the passion of the fans, and leave the negative stuff somewhere else. They can go and do whatever they want in some remote area. But I'm talking about the fans, the real fans that are there to support their team, to go and enjoy football, and to go and celebrate what their team is all about. So I hope you enjoy this, and I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.